very elemental feeling opening in the woods. And the performer was like in a white dress that reminded me of like a baptism or christening, sort of like a religious connotation. And it sort of represented innocence to me at that time. And then she goes and sees the television, which I thought ended up leading to an idea of how the world outside ends up muddying the purification process that is sort of natural to existing or natural when you're in the natural world. And the switch between being in the woods and being in the small room, I believe it was very dark, very bluesy. Kind of felt like a blues house performance with the sax. That gave me a feeling of sort of black trauma, sort of classical themes of like struggling for your identity, and all the spoken word sequences, as well as the clippings about Breonna Taylor and other social unrest that's sort of colored by racial conflict, really helps give you the idea of what the narrative was trying to be about, and sort of trying to transition from being a slave to the discourse of what's always going on around you, and trying to find yourself back in the natural world, a more spiritual world, and connected with your consciousness to find ways to still approximate joy in a world in which is bringing you tragedy constantly.
This is about a black woman. She's dancing, but also the situation and the story of how she's dancing. It's really well done with transitions, and also where she was in the, for instance, when she's in the room, the blue room, and there's a guy behind her playing on the saxophone. It just seems like that whole dance short was like a meditation on African American struggles in America, and the whole dance choreography that she was doing was all melancholic, and it was expressive, but very depressive, and also uh, like she was trying to like act out her angst and anger at what's been happening, amongst her people, amongst black people in the country.
I love when we transitioned into the living room that the TV and the chairs were blocking the doors as if you're trapped with all this media and trapped with this information that's happening. The lighting, too, although it was more purple in hue, I recognized that it's red and blue, which I found very clever. Um, the standouts for me were moments in the choreography, though. After when the news was announcing Breonna Taylor, how her hands went from a gun to prayer was beautiful. And the other moment, talking about um, how she's unable to breathe and he was unable to breathe, and she goes from her hands behind her back into a roll, was another striking moment of choreography. Um, the piece as a whole was just really, really beautiful to watch.
The use of color throughout the film was excellent. And the staging of the two performers, you have a dancer in the front of the room and then a saxophonist in the back. The way that they set that up was very visually appealing. Um, and the overarching themes and things like that lined up with the choice of music. The film is primarily set to jazz, played by a solo saxophonist. The changes between the music between saxophone and piano to coincide with the sequences of dance and then spoken word accompanied by visuals, they were appropriately jarring, and I think that worked really well in favor of the film. And overall, it was just very well balanced. The verbal explanation of the themes and then the physical interpretation of them through the dance, I think was a very good choice, a very smart choice, and a very effective choice. So this one was well done.
Just felt like I was being transported back and forth through these just great moments. I really dug that transition from just even just the juxtaposition of seeing the TV in the forest and then transitioning to that room, which was just lit so beautifully with the colored lighting, and you've got the fellow in the back adding the music. It was just, I don't know, it had this quality to it that I can't quite describe, but I absolutely adored. I thought it was just really strong. It displayed just a brilliant creative sensibility, and very poetic too. All the elements came together really well and just gelled and made this super cohesive and really cool piece.
It just combines so many artistic forms. There's dance and music and filmmaking and spoken word poetry. And yeah, it's so beautifully done. The lead performer is just astounding. She's just so beautiful to watch. She is a wonderful dancer, very, very expressive, and does a great job. I loved the poetry. It was beautiful. It was meaningful. It'd be wonderful on its own just to read, but to hear it read and with these visuals, it's wonderful. Um, Music was wonderfully composed, wonderfully produced, and wonderfully performed. And I love that we had the saxophonist on screen throughout. And we got to see him play, and he did a great job. But yeah, the overall meaning of it was just very beautiful, very moving. I like the locations, the forest, and then we have this old television with the snowy screen pulling us into kind of modern day, and the use of the sound bites, was very effective of all the news and all the things happening, and then we're kind of plunged into this neon-soaked quarantine, and that looked great. I loved the mist and the purple light, looked awesome. It was atmospheric and spooky, and yeah, just very moody.
My age group especially, I think that all of us are living through this time of the media just spreading all this hopeless news, and it seems like a new tragedy every day, a new thing for our generation, well, everyone, to overcome. And this dance really shows how we must just overcome all of that noise and learn to find peace within ourselves, just to live every day um, a part of this world that we're in. I really liked the contrast between the bright forest and sort of the mood lighting room. It was almost as if we have the real life, and then we have what she holds inside herself to keep herself sane. And I thought that was a very relevant theme for today.
I liked the different kind of spaces that they were working in, and how that framed everything for those shots, like with the woods, and how it started in the poetry and the TV on the ground, and then how the mood and everything completely shifted. Now you have all this color, and it's indoors, and you've got this like beautiful, like soulful, like music that's being played in the background there, and but like the poetry still continues, and her movement with the dance was so beautiful, and the message behind it was so impactful and so important.